pieces for changing the sticker fees or any of the other fees purely to block. My piece was looking for more information and where we're going to deal with the fallout of it, i.e., for just example, the stickers. The stickers are only as good as enforcement. What was the plan? Were we going to hire somebody to be there, et cetera, et cetera? I don't want to get into the weeds, but that was for me about not going forward. It seemed to be incomplete. I didn't have all the information to be able to make a responsible decision. So I can only speak for myself, but that's where I was coming from on there. But to go back to number 14, I think Amy's suggestion of having an attorney look at it so it doesn't cross over into any other pieces here. I mean, it is, the transfer station is on Bethel's property. And the other piece that we have to think of is who makes the decisions at the end of the day as far as operating. If they have some issue there right at the transfer station on a Saturday morning, are we going to wait until the committee gets together to have a decision? I think that de facto falls to the Bethel town manager right now. So we want to make sure that those types of pieces are preserved so we don't find ourselves stuck perhaps on a Saturday morning.
Neil, any questions or comments?
I think I'd have to echo, I think Michelle's thoughts. If we're going to start making changes to this, we need to look at the allocation of costs. Last time we talked about this, I asked how they came about 15 years ago, and I don't think I got an answer for that. So we don't know where those allocations came from 15 years ago, let alone if they're still valid today. And then my other thought, I think similar to Michelle too, is on number 14, the decision-making authority is what types of decisions, what level of decisions is this board able to make? What powers do they have over what types of decisions? So I think that needs to be clearly defined, is what the decisions are that the board will be eligible to make.
That's a good point, Neil. That was mainly the whole reason that I asked everybody to come tonight, was because of that. We have no decision-making capabilities. We have no authorities to make any decisions. We need a little bit of authority. I know we have to come before the board and it has to go to town meeting for any changes or anything, but we got to get at a level where we can do that, and we're not there. And something has to be done. These costs are going outrageous. They are just exploding through the roof. And I was reminded that the ordinance committee board was the one that started the process for the fee levels for the construction waste. And I remember this, when it came to the Bethel board, we put it off. We didn't make any decision about it. We put it off, and I don't think it ever got brought back before the board. And that was quite a while ago.
Yeah, that's on that list that the ORC brought to the selectmen, yes. As for what it first started, it was Dwight Merrill, Sylvia Gray, and Scott Cole. And I can't tell you how they set up the allocation of costs. It was years ago. I've talked to Scott a couple times. I've talked to Sylvia a couple times, but I think most of it was Dwight was the one that gave them the guidance, because he was the trash hauler at the time. You know, it was his business and he knew where he was going all the time. And of course, in the meantime, Nuri's grown, Bethel's grown, Nuri's grown some more, so has Bethel. Hanover is the only one that hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot, but so things have been hanging, just hanging.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I agree with Lori that we really need to, all the towns really need to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to assess fees so that the towns aren't stuck with as large waste disposal bills as we've seen over the last year or two, because things have gotten out of control. I also agree with Neil that it would be nice to know how the allocation of costs were arrived at. I'm going to guess that the household waste was probably done by population or households, and who knows how the construction waste was done, because I'm guessing that one's the one that's probably doesn't actually reflect what the towns are doing, but I could be wrong. But so I'd like to know more about that. But I do think, this is a tricky thing. It's something we don't deal with. None of the towns deal with that much, in that, except with the school board. This is the other place where 3 towns have to collaborate and cooperate in order to get the job done. And while the transfer station is physically in Bethel, the other towns use it, and we have to figure out. Yeah, there's the Saturday morning thing, although I'm probably not that far off in recognizing that Loretta and the town and the Bethel town garage maintenance folks deal with that, and so there has to probably be some language that day-to-day crises get dealt. But this is more about policy and fees, and those aren't Saturday morning decisions. Those are long-term or longer-term decisions that require research. And so I think having a board like this that can research those things and give it thought and then come up with a decision would really benefit all of us. But and I don't think it's going to come down to them needing to be talked to when we have an emergency situation on any given day. It's going to be, what is the rate going to be this year, or what are the allocations going to be? So I think it would be worthwhile to have this board. I think it would be the solid waste board, and I think it would also be important to have the attorneys from all the different towns look at it, and look at it soon, so that we can take it to town, because this is an ordinance change, I'm guessing, for all 3 towns, so that we can move forward with this and make the long-term research decisions with this group. And then, if there's a day-to-day decision about which dumpster to use, I think that's going to get made ultimately by the Bethel maintenance and Loretta.
I add to that?
Go ahead.
Being one on the ordinance review committee who talked about this, we looked at Waterford, we looked at Bryant Pond and Greenwood, how they get along, and they kind of won out. Something like when you pay your taxes, you got 3 waste disposal cards for large waste, not just household waste, like construction waste. Once you used them up, you had to go back and buy more. They had a really good system. That's one of the things we threw at the select people, was to look at their system. They get along. If you go in there on Saturday and try to get rid of trash and you don't have a sticker, they turn you around right at the door. And people laugh, because we found out what they say is, we'll just go to Bethel and dump it there. So we need somebody at the door. That's what Greenwood and Woodstock did. And it might not be a bad idea to just look at what they're doing. They're just down the street. I think we could all learn a lot from them.
And I think these are the conversations that the committee is to be used for. If we have an issue, one, prove it with the numbers. We talk about high costs. Well, how is it high? People are getting things for free. Everybody pays taxes, but really show what the difference in the cost. Show the figures of what is expensive and getting out of control, and then have these conversations like you just mentioned. If this is what we're going to do, how we're going to enforce it. And I think these are the types of policies and researching that the committee really depend on the committee to do, as well as now trying to get a basis of how these percentages were figured out. And then once you have that basis, you can use that to extrapolate up 15 years out to today.
So it sounds like largely the Bethel Select Board is in agreement that this is something we should move forward with. So if we could get a motion to send this off to our lawyers and then put it, well, ultimately with the idea that eventually we will put this, or for this year's town meeting in June, that will, or the next available town meeting, that this is something that we would like to put to a vote of the population.
I'll make the motion that we, I'm sorry, I just lost it.
Sorry, I think first we need to send it off to our.
I'll make the
Well,
motion that we
lawyers.
send it to the lawyer to review so that we can start the process.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Amy?
Amy?
So our attorney is waiting. I'm not sure where you are with your attorney, but James Katsabikas has written many interlocal agreements for many towns throughout the state, and I'm hoping that we can just use one attorney and have the costs shared, maybe at the same rate as whatever is happening. Like, at this point, I don't know. It's a struggle for me because I've been hearing this conversation for 5 years, and we've had a conversation with Greenwood about how they do it. And when Christine was here, we talked about changing MSW costs and changing over, paying for dumpsters for recycling and yeah, I get it. I understand where you guys are coming from, but if we don't know how the original formula was designed, it is really, really difficult to see if this is an apples to apples comparison, because I've looked in our files, we have no paper documentation on how we came up with this formula for MSW and construction debris. So I think that we need to X that and maybe just decide what the factors are in the new formula and start developing a new formula, because trying to recreate something that we don't know what the variables were it seems like a lot of work and not a lot of it. We just have never been able to figure it out. And we've been trying for 3.5 years that I've been on this board, and we have met at least twice. Ideally, we were trying to meet quarterly when I first started. In the transition between Christine and Retta, there was a time period that this committee didn't meet. So I just want to say that we have been working on all of this for 3.5 years. And I think that looking at maybe whatever we're all comfortable with for variables for the formula, it's probably more productive than trying to figure out what people decided to do 25 years ago.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So are you sort of looking for a proposal now? Or
No, I'm looking for that you're okay with us using Jim Katsabikas to review the interlocal agreement. And then that was just my only other comment was we have no backup documentation on how the formula was ever designed. So I think moving forward is more productive as far as, just we need to decide on if it's population, if it's building permits, if it's what is it that we're looking for to come up with a calculation for MSW and construction debris. Makes more sense than trying to recreate something that we don't have data on from 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need to find you got to find something. I mean, whether it's valuation, square footage. I mean, again, for me, in order to make a decision, if there's something that's there that makes sense, then I think we can move forward.
well, I mean, do we want to just propose that? I mean, I'm willing to propose that, allocation of the regular solid waste is by population, and I kind of like the idea of the construction debris being I like the building permit idea. I'm guessing that's as close as anything. And it's pretty easy to quantify.
I think I'd like to have the committee really come up with some proposals. I mean, you have population, what are you gonna do? Full time year round, are you gonna include seasonal? I'd like to have some basis for whatever numbers are going to be used. I think we're rushing it a little bit right now.
Agreed.
We have to make some decisions on these agreements too. We're behind on them and they need some answers. So I think the first step we need to do is what Amy suggested and have the lawyer look at it. If we can
Yep.
all agree to have that done, that's the first step.
I think there's a motion on the floor for that.
Yep.
There is. Okay, yeah, we do. We have a motion and a second on sending this to the lawyer. I think maybe the intent of that was to send it to the Bethel town lawyer, and that's a question that I have for the select board. Are you guys comfortable just sending it to the one town lawyer, or do you want to have each town have their own legal person look at it themselves? What are your thoughts?
I think we should use the one that Nuri's using right now.
And what's his name?
James
Jim
Katsikas.
He might conflict out if he works for Bethel.
I've
Yeah.
spoken-
Sorry, what?
He might conflict out if he works for Bethel.
Well, I would suggest that we go in jointly on this venture and have the one attorney draft the interlocal agreement for the transfer station, and then we share the costs of actually having him do that work. And then if you want to have I'm not sure if, I know that we were, we did not have we were using Bernstein Shore, and we've used Perkins Thompson, James Katsikas, since I've been here. So I'm not sure if you're using the same person, and it's fine if you are. I'm sure shouldn't be a conflict here. It's what's in the best interest, and the decision making needs to happen at the board level. It's just drafting the document so that's legal.
Yeah, it's not our conflict. I don't know if the attorney has a conflict, that's all.
I spoke with him. I've spoken with him. He's part of my presentation in a little while. So I can address that more then.
But I think that's, I think it's ultimately one person has to write the document.
All right.
A committee of lawyers is probably not going to get it done better or faster. It may be something that, we look at it, we might have to send it on to the town's lawyer to check it at the end. But I think in order to get the document written, at least to that level, we probably need to, that would probably be sufficient in my mind, but I could be wrong. Any other thoughts?
So I think we would just need an amendment to the motion to make it specific.
Which lawyer?
With the lawyer, because the select board is the one that gives authority.
Okay, would you like to make that motion? Or that amendment?
Well, you amend it to to defer, as long as there's not an attorney conflict, counselor conflict, to Jim, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, Fisix, who's employed by the town of Newry to be the drafter and the drafter of the contract.
All right, do we have a second on
that?
that?
Looking for
Yeah,
that?
that's fine. We have a second on that amendment? All right, we have a second. Any discussion on that amendment? All right, all those in favor of the amendment, I'll have to take a roll call. Lori,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
and Lloyd,
Yes.
and I'm in favor as well. So that brings us back to the initial motion. Any further questions from the select board or comments? All right, hearing none, we'll vote. Lori,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. All right, so thank you, Amy, for coming to us, and for Lori for pushing us along. And I think we're set to send that off.
Thanks, Amy and Gary.
All right. Well, this is gonna be fun. There we go. All right. Next on the agenda is a committee appointment to the Recreation Board and the
No, Peter,
no.
we have the Pine Tree Extension proposal
sorry.
agreement and the Pleasant River Farms.
Sorry.
They were all trash, so I kind of put them on the same.
Right. What is the? Sorry.
The Pine Tree expired, so they gave us one to cover us until June 30th of 2021. Amy got them to cover for the fiscal year versus the calendar year.
Okay.
And of course, their fees have gone up, but this will get us through 2021.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to see the pricing?
Can you give me a little bit more? What's the percent that it's gone up from what we're used to seeing?
Do you remember that, Scott? We talked about it at last meeting, but I can't remember what the percentage was.
Significant.
Because I didn't bring the old one with me.
I think it was more than 20%, wasn't it?
No.
Recycling,
Re- Yeah, Scott said recycling, yes, but the trash was no.
Oh,
Um,
I'm thinking of the recycling, yep.
I know there's so many different pieces of trash. It's scary.
And you don't realize it until you get involved in it.
True story. Yeah, I didn't bring the last one with me, so I can't.
And remind me the length of the term of the other contract,
Which one?
the previous contract to this? Was it like 3 years?
Yeah, it was a 3-year. Yep. So we
Was
figured if we got one more year out of them, and then we had talked to them that if they would cover us one more year, then we'd do a proposal to go out to bid for the next. We just didn't have time this year when everybody got around to.
So did it escalate in that 3-year previous contract, the pricing?
Yes, they have it set in there so it goes up at I wish I could say it like Erica says it, but I cannot.
Okay. But from the best of your recollection, or Scott's recollection, there's no increase, at least from the last year, of the waste rates, but there is an increase in the recycling.
A lot. So everything's gone up, but the recycling went up the most.
Okay. Any other
All right.
differences in the contract?
No.
All right. Any further questions on the Pine Tree contract?
Just a broad brush, do you think this still fits in the budget that we appropriated this past year?
It's going to be close because we upped it. We guesstimated, of course, with what we're paying this year. Plus the way construction debris is going, it's going to be scary.
Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? All right. We'll vote. Lori,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Neil.
Peter?
Yes.
We don't have a motion.
Oh, I thought we did have a motion.
Oh, we did a motion.
No, we didn't. That was something else. Yeah, we need a motion and we need a second. I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion to accept the Pine Tree extension.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions? Or debacles. All right. Lori,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes,
Neil,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
and I'll also vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then next, the next contract in that same vein is with Pleasant River, the composting company. And they are,
He's increasing also.
he's increasing, but it looks like we get a bulk discount.
Yes, if we get that high.
Right. Do you have any idea what our numbers are?
That sheet that I sent to you, the collection services, October.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, Bethel was 24,480. Is that total?
20,480. That's pounds.
Yes, pounds.
so divided by what? 2,000 or something per ton?
Or 2,200.
2,200 per ton?
Am I wrong? Have I lost my mind? Maybe.
Yes, all right.
So that's about 10 tons. Or, well, yeah, is that a month? So October.
Yes. Yes, he does it monthly.
Sorry, that's crooked.
So it looks like on average, in the last, it'll be like it's not by month, it's by per quarter, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how he has this listed. I just noticed that too.
Okay, so sometimes we're 10 or below, or
Yeah,
Other
we're looking at
times-
that threshold.
yeah, other times we're between the 10 and 20 if he does it monthly. I mean, if he did it quarterly, we'd be at the lesser rates.
Right. Yeah, we're right between 10 and right around 10 tons per month.
Yeah. And that, what was his rate this past contract
It was 65, I think it was $65 per ton.
for under 10 tons?
Well, yeah, because he did it, he's changed his fee schedule from what he had before.
But I should know this, but how does this compare to just regular solid waste? I guess that's further up probably up here further. Oh, no, this is not.
We have that, what is it, AgriCycle, whatever they are.
Yeah.
There's another food waste that they collect at the transfer station.
I thought he picked that up there too.
No, that's AgriCycle or something like that. I might be hearing their name, but, and that's kind of minimal.
So this is basically preventive, so it doesn't get an hour
Correct.
transfer station recycling system?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, and it's,
He goes and picks these up at the restaurants.
okay, and then
Okay,
it's
so
voluntary as to where he goes? They voluntarily participate?
Yeah, I think he provides them with containers, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Well,
yeah, we're paying $94 a ton for municipal solid waste.
Yep.
So it's cheaper to
How
have
much a ton, Peter?
it. Well, based on, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm up into the contract. I'm up into the agreement, but it looks
right.
like disposal fees are $94 per ton for municipal solid waste. Yeah, construction debris is less, but not much less. So it's still the composting seems to be saving us money as opposed to having that appear in our household waste stream.
Yep.
So I think that sounds to me like the answer. It's slightly less expensive. All right. Any further discussion on that? Can we get a motion to accept? Have we had a motion yet to accept this one?
No, we have not.
All right. Can we have a motion to accept the Pleasant River proposal?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just the term of service, is that usual, 5 years usual for this type of service? And also considering how solid waste and everything is changing so fast, is that something that we want to do?
Well, the
5
next
years.
line is that the contract can be terminated by either party with 30 days notice. So it's 5 years, but 5 years that you can stop at any time. It looks
In 30
like.
days. Okay. Yep. No, as long as people are comfortable with that. Yep.
But I mean, I think that is a good question. Like, we do want. So it seems like it's a verbal commitment, but it's not a. If things go haywire, I think we can also get out if we need to. All right. Any further questions? All right. We'll vote. Lori,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. All right. That puts us off trash, I think.
Was the free table at the transfer station going to be an agenda item, or?
Well, I thought it doesn't really have to be where it's been closed, but people are really having a fit that it's still closed. Some people would like to get rid of it altogether, so I threw that in there so you guys would know that we have had comments on it, but winter's coming. Is it a real headache during the winter time, Scott? Anytime.
Anyone want to see any changes in how things are going at the free table or the lack of free table?
The only thought that I had, and it's a reiteration, I think I mentioned it this summer, is if we are looking to reopen it next year, that perhaps this could be a topic that the Tri-Town Committee works on, is safety for the free table. The location of it seems to be in a runoff zone. It's hard to upkeep, maintain, and I think it's a safety issue for people participating in it. And perhaps they could find another location at the transfer station for it, so it could be a little more safe if we do open it back up again. And I would look to the committee to see if they would come up with a recommendation. I think would be part of their charge.
Okay, so leave it closed for now and then committee can talk about it.
Sounds good to me. All right.
Works for me.
Next, it looks like we are going to scrolling up. Planning board, wind
Nope.
and solar. Nope,
Rec-
sorry. Now we're back to Sarah.
Yeah.
So rec board, it looks like we have an application from Sarah Tucker.
I'll make a motion that we accept the application from Sarah Tucker.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have two things. The first one is just kind of rhetorical, and just to be, real candid, because I think this is where the stuff gets fleshed out. Is it seemed a little bit odd, after just retiring from being the rec director, wanting to focus on her other jobs and being a little bit burnt out and such, just to see you turn around and apply. It's just odd, and it's just more rhetorical than anything else. And then the second thing, a little bit different take on filling this position is, I would ask that we table it until we review the other applications that we get. I think it's this time of year that we solicit and let people know what openings we have in our committees and our boards, and we accept applications, and we work on those in December so they're ready to go in January. And I would ask to table it, and so it can be considered with other interests. I think Sarah would be a good addition to the rec committee. She certainly has a lot of experience and energy for it, but just to make it available to all, that we publicize it, since it's so close to December anyway, that we publicize it and consider it when we consider the others. An experience that I had when I was a new select board member, August of 2019, I was really taken back when we had an applicant for the planning board, Penny York, and we were asked by staff to table that decision because we had another applicant, Jimmy Bennett, who could not apply for the planning board because he was on the appeals board, and staff asked us to wait to make that decision in filling the planning board position. And I was very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable with that in the process. Not in the applicants, they're both worthy, but I was very uncomfortable with the process, and it just made me think about the process. We advertise it definitely in, for December, and then we advertise some in June. But what happens about the openings or openings that don't get filled in between? And I'm hoping that we can put that down as an agenda item for our next meeting, since it seems to be happening more and more that we don't fill the positions, or positions become available during times that we don't advertise and make it available to everybody. Those are just my concerns and a request to be put on, have that on the agenda for the next meeting. And I would respectfully ask to amend the motion that we just table it for this meeting and consider it with the others that we get in December. I think that's usually the timetable.
They have been carrying 3 empty slots on the rec committee. There's 3 openings still, even after Sarah, or 2 after Sarah.
And that's
2
been,
after Sarah.
that's been, how long has that been advertised?
I haven't advertised the year-end vacancies yet.
I can't hear her.
She hasn't advertised the year-end vacancies yet.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion to table this discussion. Do we have a second? All right, I don't see a second. Did I miss it, or is it still? All right, so it doesn't look like we have a second, so I'm afraid the motion fails, the amendment fails. Any further discussion on appointing Sarah Tucker to the rec board? All right, we'll vote. Lori,
Yes?
Michelle?
No, I'm not voting.
Okay, not voting or abstain? Well,
No, I'm just not voting.
okay. Neil?
Yes.
Lloyd?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Next,
So
we,
you're in favor or you're just abstaining?
I'm just not voting. If I vote yes, I'm going against my conscience of the process. This has nothing to do with the applicant, but the process. And if I vote no, people are going to put me in the category of a big B. So you can't win either way. And I just don't want to keep condoning, something, a process that I don't think is fair to the public.
Right.
So you're abstaining.
You can put it however you want to put it.
Well, I have to put it one way or the other, so.
Okay. So next on our agenda, planning board concerns with wind and solar applications.
Yeah. Hey, hi everyone. Thanks for having us tonight. So we just went through 2 solar panel projects without an ordinance. So we're trying to, it was really tough because we're second guessing, trying to figure out what solar farms are all about. So we just would like to have, I can't say we're opposed or we're for the solar guys. One project we really loved the people we worked with, the other project we didn't so much. So we'd like to talk about just a moratorium until we can have an ordinance, and we might lump it under alternative energy, along with our wind. Our wind, we still did with the old ordinance review committee that just got hijacked. We really never did anything. So I'd like to lump that in with it if possible. But mostly, we really don't want to, I don't even know why we saw that solar project, 2 of them. Like, for instance, so we're trying to second guess what to do. At one point, we thought of decommissioning. So we asked for decommissioning. And another big issue was a right of first refusal. Again, we have something great coming, maybe great coming to Bethel, but we have very low taxes that we'll be getting for that. It's just raw land taxes. And then we can't even use any of that power. So we asked both projects for right of first refusal on behalf of the town of Bethel. Don't know if you wanted us to do that or not, but we did. One project gave it to us, the other refused. And we had no teeth. It's the same with decommissioning. We really did the best we could with both of these projects. So I was going to ask Lori. Lori is great. She can't hear me because she's muted. She's great at understanding. I want her to explain what we have to do to align this to a standard, because she's our standard guru. Thanks, Lori.
Well, I just think it's important for the Board of Selectmen to know that it was very difficult to deal with these 2 projects, because we had no guidance on how to align the performance standards that are in the site plan review with this type of use. It's not a use that creates the same impact on a site that a building would, or any other kind of project. And it was very difficult to figure out how to apply those standards to this type of use. That we have separate ordinances that deal with the telecommunication. That's helpful. We have a separate ordinance on wind. So I think it would be best, at least this was the consensus of the planning board, that the ordinance review committee be re-engaged to help us look at these energy issues and whether we can find that they can help recommend specific performance standards that might apply to these uses, so that the issues can be properly addressed. Sherry mentioned the decommissioning. Well, one of the projects was at a threshold of megawatts, where DEP's review was really going to be a substantial review. And that, of course, makes us feel somewhat better about how things might proceed. But the other one fell below that threshold. And it's one thing to ask an applicant, but there's really, as Sherry said, nothing that compels them to agree to that. And none of this is, as Sherry said, is on the basis of whether we think alternative energy is good or bad. We, as a planning board, just want to know what standards, specific standards that are either redefined in the performance standards or a whole separate ordinances. It's been done for other kinds of things that deal with these kinds of projects. But having a period now where we don't know if any further projects are going to go forward and we're still sitting in this very gray area, we felt it might be prudent for the selectmen to consider a moratorium until the ordinance committee can be reconvened and address these issues in a more substantive way.
Thanks.
Doing research on the fly, which every planning board member did, is not a substitute for thoughtful consideration by a group of people who can really first determine what are the right questions so they can determine if we've collected all the right answers.
Right. You know, Dwayne brought up a really interesting issue today. He said that was it the West Bethel guys, Dwayne?
Yes, West Bethel.
West Bethel guys laughed when they went to get their building permit. They were in shock about what we charged. And if you knew how many hours and days that we put into these 2 wind projects, in Sarah's countless hours, plus we're trying to learn it, not just align it to our ordinance. And then they got, what was it, a $200?
$200 fee. And then we
And
also
they were
paid
prepared for like $8,000, $10,000, $80,000. What did you say?
Massachusetts based their industrial stuff on, it's $10 per 1,000. So in this project of $5 million or more, they were expecting to pay $50,000. You can look it up on the Massachusetts stuff and probably even talk to the people.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to go back and talk to their investors to pay for the building permit. And then they found it was $200. They never ever researched that. They just figured that's what it was. And we paid an attorney probably thousands to help us.
Oh, yeah.
We collected nothing.
I didn't mention that. Yeah.
Things.
Because we didn't have an ordinance. We had Jim Katsiafikis
Assist us.
for every meeting.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's getting more and more commonplace that we have to utilize Jim. And I think between Jim and AvCog, they can write this ordinance. But did you have other overview kinds of things, Dwayne?
Yeah, I did the list that we had talked about a long time ago. It was with wind too, that we didn't realize that these solar panels, the ones in West Bethel, they actually told us they're going to make 61 decibels at the property line. That's more than wind.
Yep.
And we've got nothing that if somebody around there wants to build a house, they probably ought to be aware of that. The view shed definitions, we have to be very careful with the state laws on these because the state laws pretty much build them anywhere, let the town figure it out. So when you look at the state view sheds, they don't really look at our mountains in this area. It's almost like it's Iowa and it's flat and you're not going to see them after 3 miles. So that was one of them. The decommissioning, the gentleman from the DEP said that the 5 megawatts, they put decommission on them, but it may not be enough for your area. So that should be looked at for us as a town. The 3.7 megawatt, we asked and we got, I think, $150,000. I don't know if that's really going to do much in 25 years with cost of inflation, or that's just going to maybe back the dumpster up. So that bothered me. One thing we asked them at the end of it, I had asked a question on electromagnetic interference in electricity. They call it dirty electricity that solar puts out. And they said, well, if we do, CMP shuts us down. And we all went, oh, that's great. But really, how much is acceptable? Where I'm finding out from a couple of local ham operators that if you have too many people on Main Street doing that, it'll start to interfere with Wi-Fi. And it's not going to bother by central main power. So those are other things that we're just finding out now. The other part, again, the fees, I was staggered by that. And I don't think they were lying to me, the point that I can't wait to ask those solar guys in West Bethel, because I think they'd help us. They were on target. The other one being a big wind and solar national company, they didn't seem to care. They just wanted to put it in, turn it over to their investors. The wind stuff is still basically the same thing. What went through isn't doing Bethel any good. I live out here by the Milton line. There's some properties for sale that have the deeds on them for wind, and they could actually put some in Bethel. And they would be too close to homes with the standards we have. We never addressed shadow flicker. We never did the infrasound. And what I would love to see the planning board and ordinance review committee do is get a hold of AvCog and work with them. John Mahoney, who I think is retired, did the whole process with Greenwood, and Greenwood is phenomenal with the help of AvCog. It would almost be a cut and paste to fix that up. And I bet you they would do the same with solar, because they've got to be getting hit by other towns. Where else we at? So that's pretty much overview of it. But the thing is, state standards don't help us. They're like, I can't put it. It's like the Wild West. Just put them anywhere. There's no plan. And I think Bethel needs a plan, a full-on plan for this.
All right, just added one quick question. So what did the planning board decide on these 2 installations?
They went through.
They went through.
We had public forums for both of them. No, there was no interest. We had site walks. We did everything we know how to do to get input, and we just didn't get any interest at all. I mean, they went through. We had our attorney there who helped us through. But it cost us, I mean, it cost you thousands and thousands of dollars for a $200 building permit.
Right. So, so thank you very much. That was very helpful. I agree that we should definitely look into having we need an ordinance that just makes it clear for the planning board what these kind of facilities need, what the rules are, and what the fees are, and what the just everything that goes along with it. That just seems like it makes sense because it is new. It's something that is demonstrably different than any other kind of building project we see. My question is, this goes sort of back to the world of moratoria. I just don't know as a select board, we can put a moratorium on something, or does it have to go to the town?
Mm-hmm.
It would have to go to I think a hearing and then a vote. You could make it as long as you want. I think so Greenwood did it, and they did theirs at first for 6 months, and then they extended it.
Mm-hmm.
It does have to go to a town vote.
It does.
Peter,
That's how I understand it too. It needs to have a public hearing, and the first vote needs to go to the town and to the townspeople. And then if there are extensions, I believe the selectmen can do extensions, and I have to have Loretta and Kristen check on that.
I think you're right.
I have a question for you guys. Do we have to see something that we don't have an ordinance for? Can we say, no, we're not going to look at another one? If one comes, we're afraid they're going to come because the governor has incentivized these projects. So do we have to see one if we don't have an ordinance? That might be a question for Kathy, but
I think the answer to that was probably a yes, but I'm not sure.
right.
I think it's a yes, because it would fall under just a regular site plan review.
Right.
Right.
And it's the planning board the planning board first makes a determination. So you have, code that you have to follow in order to make a determination and then view it. So probably
Right.
put in a tough position just to say no.
Yeah.
when we
It's like what
asked,
Lori said.
Wait, sorry, Jan, go ahead.
About this.
I'm just kind of curious why, when we asked for this, 9 months ago for some support, it kind of got, I'm going to say it and I'm going to say it wrong. We got laughed at. We didn't get the support that we asked for. And then the stuff goes through. Now we're coming back, we're asking again. Now all of a sudden it seems like the board is willing to understand that we need help.
Well, that's a double being laughed at, Jim. I think.
I don't mean laughed at.
No.
That's the wrong word.
I understand what you're saying. there was a public hearing on February 26th for the first solar proposal, and it was at the Bethel Airport, and a few of us attended. Shortly thereafter, you proposed a moratorium at the March meeting, and my position was for me, I did not want to act. I was uncomfortable acting on one person's initiative request, and I wanted to see if this is how the planning board, like any other ordinance, I asked the planning board, what tools, resources do you need in order to review these solar sites? I was literally chastised at a public meeting by the planning office for daring to ask such a question. And then shortly thereafter, that was about in April, shortly thereafter on May 6th, Toby Walker did respond for the information that at least I was looking for, and it was presented to the selectmen, and he had the findings after reviewing everything, and he had his pieces, which I'm sure you guys have in yours, is to ensure good accessibility to the projects and the road standards, to have active liability insurance, and also to have a decommissioning plan, security bonds, and also the permit fees. That was a May 6th memo. And
I don't know about the rest of the board, but I know I never saw that memo saying anything about, it would be nice to have, if we had the direction, we could have been pushing on the other one saying, we really want in the approval, the condition of approval, that we want a decommissioning, but.
Wow, I'm sorry about this. I mean, we need to talk more.
We dealt with the decommissioning and on the project that wasn't going to be subject to the DEP standard for decommissioning.
Right.
But the point that Dwayne's making is we didn't have the expertise in order to figure out really what the appropriate decommissioning should be when you have a operational window that extends for 20 to 25 years. And the last thing we wanted as citizens was to see a site abandoned with these, installations on them and not be able to remediate the site. It's on Route 2. It's on a gateway road to our community. And I think all we're trying to make you understand is we're not experts in all these newly emerging types of projects. We need some guidance. There are performance standards for us. What we don't understand is where specifically should there be added standards or added language given the type of use this is. That affects what is viewed from the road. It affects, do we want sites clear cut so they can go forward, or we only want them to look at sites where they are able to reclaim areas that have been previously disturbed? There's a lot of issues that the town should be considering. We don't have the tools to do that now. We believe that if you allow the ordinance committee to move forward to reevaluate this, they're likely to do a good job. And I'm sure you'll get them they'll be able to tap into whatever expert groups like ABCOG or an attorney to help in that regard. But it's important. Otherwise, we don't feel comfortable that we're able to do the job you entrusted us to.
What?
I think you guys.
I think we understand the issue. I think we need to move on. We know what we need.
Right.
We're all set.
Yeah.
We need to potentially propose a moratorium for the next time we meet as a town, whether that's in a special town meeting before June or by June. And we need to move our ordinance review committee towards creating an ordinance to address solar installations. So that seems very clear.
I don't think you have enough information yet. In the next month to 2 months, they're going to make a determination on the Milton project if they're going to redo the lease. That new lease will go for 10 years that they can put them up. If they know Bethel has a moratorium, or a solar company knows we have a moratorium, they're not going to put a 100-acre wind farm at the Blake farm that we can't stop once they hand it in. If they would hand in a Met Tower permit for Wilbur or Kimball Mountain in Bethel, we would at least have time to do a moratorium then, because the Met Tower has to be up for 2 years before they can apply for anything. But anything on the Milton, Bethel area back here, we're done. We have 600-foot towers. Blake Farm becomes a 100-acre solar field. They hook onto the power, they're in. I don't think this is a wait moment. I think we've waited since April till now.
It still has to go before a town vote, though.
So why don't we set that up?
That's what I just said.
How do we set it up instead of waiting until spring? What do we do to make it happen now?
We just have to decide when we're going to have the next special town meeting. I believe there's already pieces that are scheduled for whenever that happens again, so we can schedule it whenever we want. Within the limits of, it has to be far enough out that we can get all the advertisements and
And a location. That is our big issue.
the location
Oh,
and a public hearing.
Correct.
But that's what needs to happen. So we can.
Well, if we're stuck like this and we're stuck in these Zoom meetings, can we do a public hearing in a Zoom format? Or is that, I mean, I don't see why we can't.
How long do we have to wait to get a Zoom meeting set up that's a town meeting? What is the appropriate time that's required?
If I'm not mistaken, we're not allowed to do a town meeting by Zoom meeting.
Correct.
Okay, then what is the appropriate time for any town meeting then, I should say?
You have to have public hearing first before you have the town meeting. So you have a time frame. Selectmen would have to meet, they'd have to decide on the moratorium, what they want to take to a public hearing, and then you'd have the public hearing, and then you have to set up the special town meeting, which we can't do Zoom. We have to find a place to do it.
And what's the minimum amount of time we could wait to do this? I think we're all nervous. We don't want this brought up before us again. We are not experts in these fields.
I mean, am I correct in understanding this, the soonest would be January? Because you guys don't meet in December, correct?
Well, we do meet in December. We have a December, whatever it is, 7th meeting.
Okay, so you do this December, then the next thing, it becomes January,
Yeah.
so we're into, next thing we know, we're into February.
Right.
I agree with Sue, we're all
We agree with you.
ill-prepared.
We agree with you.
But we still don't have a location. We don't have an appropriate space to have.
So can we get a vote from the select board to have a moratorium drafted for the next select board meeting, and then move that along if we approve that to a special town meeting to follow?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion, select board?
Just thank you for the planning board for speaking up for themselves. And I guess, sorry it's taken that long. The question was first asked way back when.
I have one other quick question in regards to that. There was a comment that maybe the communication is getting broken down. If that's the case, how do we improve to get the communication working well so that we don't miss out either direction, whether it's you guys or us or.
Great question, Jim.
I do know there's a fine line between the interaction of planning board and selectmen.
Why?
It's,
To the judicial board.
yeah,
We're judicial board, so it's, but I think this is appropriate, right?
Sure, this is appropriate because you're not asking us for
to make the decision.
guidance on a specific
Just a case.
application. You're coming us to tell us, we need more legislation here.
Right.
We even had to wait for these two projects to be done with before we could come to you,
Right.
so.
Huh.
Why?
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Good question.
I think Michelle said that Toby had gotten her the info. Some of that info, I could be wrong, but I think that a good portion of that info would have been beneficial to us, because it would also have been beneficial for us to know that info, and we could have said to you guys, these are the tools we need.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do we-
I think
How
we
long-
want to do what's right for Bethel, but we have to follow guidelines and we need some help. This isn't our expertise.
Right. Right.
Right.
We don't want it to be our expertise, you know? We're not attorneys or professionals in this field.
Do we have a timeline as to how long the moratorium is that you're going to propose?
Oh, we haven't.
No.
We're just
Never.
starting. But
Beginning stages, I'd
the
say.
idea of the moratorium is you want the moratorium to last as long as it takes for you to not to expire until after you've approved legislation or approved it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I would personally, I would recommend a minimum of 6 months, and maybe we go for 9. I mean, if we get,
Year.
if it's, let's just hypothetical, let's say it's 9 months and we get it put together, the review committee, ordinance committee gets it put together in 5 months, then great, we can change it and say, okay, we're done. We've done it, you know, it could in theory end in 6 months versus that.
No, that's right.
Okay.
You keep the moratorium in place until the ordinance is done.
Mhm.
You don't want to have a gap between when your moratorium expires and before your town legislation takes place. So it just depends on, the moratorium should last as long as it's going to take us to get an ordinance in place.
And we just need to look up what the statute is on moratorium ordinances.
Right.
Back on February 26, 2020, we had from MMA, I think, and Rena, Kristen, you guys are gonna have to confirm any of this stuff. I think there are limited durations, and I think they're in 6-month blocks. But so we'll have to get what the statute says. That gives us the authority.
I believe we looked that stuff all up, and I agree. I think it was the 6 month. I'm pretty sure I remember it saying you couldn't go over 12 months per
Right.
shot.
I feel like we can probably get on this, based on what's out there. I would hope that we would have ordinance ready to be voted on in June. That
If we got started, yeah. If we got started now, why don't we could?
Sure.
But we need to, as the ordinance committee, we need to get the okay to start doing the stuff. A bunch of us have been wanting to do it all summer, but it keeps getting.
Yeah, and that next is getting the ordinance review committee going, and that's another whole issue, but I believe we can probably move that along. All right, we need to move on.
Thank you.
Next,
Thank
you
you.
very much for coming out. That was very helpful.
Great.
Appreciate the input,
Don't leave, don't leave.
Second on the floor.
and hopefully we'll have help for you guys.
No,
Peter.
Motion on the floor.
You did.
You have a motion on the floor, motion and a second. You got to
Oh,
vote.
the moratorium? Oh, yeah,
Yes.
sorry. Vote from the select board on the moratorium, proposal to have a moratorium drafted for the next select board meeting. Lori,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can
Good to
quick
see your
add,
faces, you guys.
most of your board is here.
Neil.
Most of the ordinance review board is here too, so.
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, get ready.
Thank you very much, guys, girls.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda, aroma issues. We have a few of these.
We have Sharon Risley here at the office. Would you like her to speak?
Sure.
You might want to come closer just so I can hear you. Is that the handout from you? I sent them your email and I sent them Edie's email
Did you get
also.
Edie's?
Yes.
Okay, just something that I
Okay.
did, so if you don't want it.
Okay.
But I am here this evening because of a neighbor that is causing foul odors emanating from his property. And this has been ongoing now for about 2 years. This past summer and early fall has been the worst. It is definitely marijuana, and he seems to be doing this 24/7. And all of a sudden it stopped in the middle of October. The problem is arising that these odors are coming onto my property. I cannot use my deck. I cannot use my screened-in porch. At night, I've had to close my windows and doors. And I feel that this is not a right thing to do for a neighborhood. And I will not go over and try to speak to him because I don't know how he's going to react to that. So I'm coming to you to ask you for help. It has also caused me to have migraine headaches every day, and also has kept my stomach upset too as well. And I do not know now what we can do other than to suggest that there be some way to keep him smoking, containing whatever he's doing over there within his own premises, so that it does not infringe any upon his neighbors. And either that can mean that he has to do it inside of his own property and somehow have a filtration system that will get rid of the odors.
Toby has been up, ridden by, Toby.
Yeah, I rode by once, didn't notice anything out of the ordinary there. I went back, actually had a conversation with the gentleman. As far as I can tell right now, anything that he's doing there on the property is not regulated by the town of Bethel.
What do you mean not regulated by us?
It doesn't fall under purview of site plan review or anything else along the marijuana ordinances.
So it would be private consumption, more or less, I guess.
Well, my issue on that is private consumption. There is no way on the face of this earth anybody could smoke marijuana 24 hours a day. It's physically impossible. And these odors have, during that growing period of time, got worse. He also erected a privacy screen around part of his driveway so that you could not see what he was doing in behind that. And then all of a sudden, everything was taken down. And then all of a sudden, come October the 16th or thereabouts, there was no more odor.
So I don't know the answer, but is the odor coming because he's growing marijuana or because he's smoking marijuana?
I believe it's all three. I believe he's growing, smoking, and harvesting. And unfortunately, because of the time constraints of you being able to go out and look and see what he was doing and physically going on his property through the month of October, that is when it was at the worst of this. And then it's gone. And what I'm asking is there's got to be some way to mitigate this. There's got to be some way that people can go or someone check during the growing season to see how many plants he has and if in fact he is drying. I have to be able to live in my own property. And right now, the way it is, I can't tolerate 5 to 6 months out of the year of not being able to keep my doors open or even go outside to my own garden and do gardening. I feel that this is not right, even though he has the right to smoke.
As long as he's following our ordinances, he has the right to grow it too.
Not in our area with the covenants that we have. It is private, one person or one housing unit on each lot, and is only for residential purposes only. If he is growing more than what the state statutes allow, that then becomes a commercial endeavor, and that is illegal.
So that would have to be handled by the state, correct, Toby? Because it's not under the town ordinances and it's a private subdivision.
Yeah, covenants are going to be enforced by the homeowners association. What he is doing there, yeah, it doesn't fall under the town's ordinances.
Have you talked to the owners association?
Me? I am part of the owners association, but I did not bring that up because I feel that this is a private issue with a private resident, and we don't want to have the association per se to be able to have to go and address him.
Because currently, as far as I know, Bethel doesn't have any do we have any particular odor ordinance for anything in Bethel?
No.
I'm gonna guess you're gonna get farther on the, I mean, Bethel could write ordinance if there was enough, and people would have to vote on it at town meeting, but I'm guessing you can get a lot farther or a lot faster with your homeowners association.
Then that would mean that one of us or some of us would have to physically go over and speak with this gentleman.
Has law enforcement been called?
No, law enforcement has not been called. I have spoken with Fran Head, one of our representatives for Bethel, and she suggested that I go through the selectmen first to see what you could offer up as far as a direction on how to counter this. And as a side note, I am sure that there are other areas in our town that are having this same issue, and that has been intimated to me a couple of times. If you also read Edie Oakenquist's letter, she also states the same findings too.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's something that we could write ordinance about, but in order to have ordinance written about it, we would have to have some way of, it would be like the sound ordinance, which I believe we do have, but we'd have to have some way of measuring.
Right, and I've been told that there is a measuring machine that can measure odors, and that Bethel has one.
Toby, is this true?
I can't say that I know that we have one. I haven't found it anywhere, and I don't know of it ever being used. But you know, my history is short here. So
yeah, as far as I know, that's not the case, but I could be wrong.
Right. Because I physically wouldn't have seen it and have no way of knowing where it would have been.
Right.
You know, that's what I had heard, that Bethel does have one. What I'm asking for is trying to protect private citizens from another private citizen's usage of a substance that is affecting one's life and well-being. And I feel that I should not have to go on a daily basis with a headache because this person wants to get high or sell. And where do my rights not equal to his rights?
Do we know if he's a medical provider or if he is just recreation?
Toby said that he was looking to see if he had applied for a medical license, but he did not find one.
Mike
I
Everett
know
wants
what
to
you're
speak.
talking about, and if he has a medical card under state law, he's allowed to grow 6 plants. His wife's got one, she's allowed to grow 6 plants.
You're muted.
Grow them outdoors, and you're also allowed another 3 plants on recreational. The state has no ordinance for anything to do with any smell outdoors. It's a legal substance in the state. It's like somebody growing apples next to you, and odors are offensive to some people, but maybe not other ones. Like perfume to me. Some perfumes that smell bad, some don't. I'm just saying, it's a really, I understand where you're coming from, but he has the right to do it if he's not growing more plants than he's supposed to, and you're not smelling the smell because harvest season just ended.
Right.
I mean, I can drive anywhere in this town and smell marijuana from late July all the way through October. Anywhere as you drive.
I understand
Anywhere.
that. But
That's how much is being grown here legally.
what is being overlooked is my rights and his rights. And I am going to stand up for my rights.
I understand.
You know, because if he is that ill and he has to smoke 24/7, there's something definitely wrong.
I think it's more the growing.
My rights,
So
do I have to go every single day for 6 months out of the year and be sick with a headache that I can hardly even hold my head up? Do I have to also be nauseous to the point that I want to throw up? I can't even go out of my front door during that time frame without being assaulted from a legal substance. Well, excuse me, my property is legal too. My life is legal too.
So
And
I
if
think
you don't have an ordinance in Bethel, I highly suggest then we maybe need to start talking about getting one.
so Sharon, you have that within your purview. Like you can come up with an ordinance and go through the petition process and find enough people who are willing to sign on, and then it's forced to go to the town, to the vote of the town. That is your option and your right. And you know, if that's how you feel this should go, then I would encourage you to go down that path, because it may be your most direct way to deal with this. I mean, the town of Bethel could also start digging into it, but I guarantee you'll get it done faster than we will. Not because we're dragging our feet, but it just takes, you know, all the other stuff longer. So I would recommend that if that's where you want to go with it, that's where you go with it. And it's all, you can ask Loretta and she can tell you exactly how that process works.
I can do that. And also, where do I find out if this man has a medical license to grow marijuana?
I don't know. I don't know if that's public information or not. I thought it was a medical. She couldn't. But as a private person, he can grow.
You can grow 3 recreational plants.
All right. So, select board, are we ready to move on?
Yep.
But Sharon, that's your best, most direct course of action.
I will get up with you, Loretta. Take your time, and unfortunately, I'm not being heard.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next up, somewhat ironically, is a medical cultivation permit. And I believe this is, wait, it's the other agenda. The other.
This is one we've already looked at before, isn't it?
This is the new facility I built. You guys gave me the rec permit, and I'm getting ready to move my medical from the house over to that facility.
Okay.
It's been approved by the planning board. It's just, I got to get a permit from you guys and bring my feet.
So this is moving to the location across the street from this Sunday River Brewing Company?
Yes, correct.
All right, and Loretta, is everything in the application in order?
Yes.
All right, can we have a motion to approve the application?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further questions from the select board? All right, we'll take a vote. Lori,
Yes,
Michelle,
Hold on. Yes.
thanks. Neil,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. Next on the agenda, junkyard permits.
I make a motion, we approve the junkyard permit for Todd Wilson and Jeff Goodrow. Were those the only two?
No, there's another one, Eric Paul.
Eric Paul, that's right. Sorry, forgot that one.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, the new guy here, are these all new junkyards? Are they in place already?
They are all old junkyards.
Okay.
And that was my question. At which point do we need to decide that a junkyard needs to be remediated and stopped? In other words, what are the state regulations and our regulations concerning junkyards? At what point do they need to stop being a junkyard, or do they just go on forever?
Toby.
Well, they can go on forever as long as you keep permitting them. Of course, we know that Jeff Goodrow, he's a business. That's his business. He's licensed through the state as well as the town. Todd Wilson, I really don't know. You don't see anything. I can't see anything. Never seen anything from the road for his stuff. I assume that he may have some remnants of his father's business and stuff kicking around there. That's why he applies for one. Things of that nature. And Eric Paul, he's another one that has been in records for quite a few years, ever since I've been here, and has had one. He did mention to me last year something about that he had removed enough vehicles at that time that maybe he thought he didn't need one. And I kind of disagreed because of the other things in the yard. And just because the town issues these permits doesn't mean that they can't ask someone maybe to step it up a little bit. There are, and it doesn't give them any legal rights, or I should say, the town still has a legal right to do that and pursue nuisances and stuff, even though they've issued this permit.
So I understand Goodrow's, and that makes sense. And yeah, that junkyard actually provides a service to the people in the town.
Yeah.
Because we need some way to recycle cars. But I guess my concern is with these long-standing junkyards, whether or not we really do need to encourage them to clean those up so that we don't have, lots of leaking fluids and, toxics that we have to worry about in the long run.
Yeah, because wasn't Wilson's like a not just a body shop, it was a big machineries. It wasn't just cars, it's big machines. Wasn't he a mechanic for the big machines and stuff?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, they had a large, handled heavy equipment down there.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was all heavy equipment.
So that's just my question. I don't have any particular objection to approving these at this time, but I'd like to see maybe those two that aren't active concerns move towards getting cleaned up so that we don't have to see all three of these again next year.
Okay, what I'll do is I will actually make appointments maybe with Todd and Eric and have a discussion with them and take a look at what's actually going on around their yard, and I'll get back to you.
Awesome.
That'd be great.
Well, we don't, for local code, Toby, we don't have any junkyard local code, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so you've attached, or in our packet, we do have attached main statute information in regards to graveyards and the compliance that they need to do for them. And it does have operating standards. It has it in regards to fluid and DEP and such like that. So do you think that they are in violation of state statute?
I don't believe that as far as like leaking fluids and things of that nature, they are in violation of state statute. I think if you read fully the statute and the conditions, there may be some minor fencing things and stuff that these guys, some of them may have never been in conformance with.
Yeah, I guess, Michelle, my concern is in the long run, when these guys move away or whatever it is, eventually the town's going to get stuck with these. And I'd rather have them get cleaned up, not by us in the nearer term than by us in the long term.
Mm. I see what you're saying. You're looking for some sort of decommissioning provisions. And
especially when it's not part of their business anymore. In other words, it might have been at some point, but now they've stopped that business. It's probably time to clean up the site.
But as far as local authority, we really don't have any. It's more a state authority with Toby as the agent.
I think we do have some local. I think we ultimately do have local authority. In other words, we could not approve this permit.
Correct.
And then I just happened to know, because at one point I owned a property that, got cited from the town that said, you really have to clean this up.
It says right here on the permit, this permit expires November 9th, 2021, unless sooner revoked by the municipal officers. So we can revoke this at any time.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm pushing for. I would rather have them come back to us and not come back to us with this application next year because it's not necessary. Because
right. And we're also granting it provided it does not violate any of the state statute. I'm just checking out what our authority is. So
yeah, I think even though it is a state statute, I think we have a fair bit of authority if we want to exercise that. And I'm not necessarily pushing to exercise that in an aggressive way, but I think, if these guys can be encouraged to move this along so that we don't have to make exceptions every year for them, that would be great. Sorry, any further discussion on the actual permits themselves? I believe we have a motion in a second. All right, Lori?
Yes.
Michelle?
yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Lloyd?
Yes.
Yes as well. All right, thank you. Next, proposed updated tobacco policy.
Yes, way back, a few months ago, Sarah Decato wanted different signs at Angevine Park and stuff. And I had contacted the people she asked me to, and in the meantime, it went through, I think, 4 different people. And after she sent her last email, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I had got another email from another person that has actually taken over that position again. So she's the one that has proposed the new language for us to be able to get the free signage and change it to all the electronic smoking devices and everything else, not just tobacco, cigarettes and stuff. That this covers everything. I found an old ordinance that you guys had, a policy, I should say, back, I think it was 2014 was the last date that I had seen. So this is just updating that.
And so that would need to go ordinance review committee, town meeting?
No, this is a policy. Selectmen can approve policy, right, Kristen? Am I correct? Yeah. You guys can accept this one.
Ooh, that's so exciting. So do we have a motion to accept this policy?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, it's the new proposal has policy prohibiting use of tobacco products. But it's more than that, because if you read the definitions, it's not just tobacco, it's marijuana and non-smoke marijuana. So I'm not sure if the title is appropriate.
I think, I want to say, I think that's the title that the state, the guidelines that she has to go by, but I can ask that question.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind asking that, so anybody picking it up knows that it also covers these other pieces. And then, is there anything in the old policy that, I mean, is the new policy, is the new words going to be embedded into the old policy, or has the old policy been looked at if there's anything there that needs to go into the new policy? I mean, there's just some pieces like, you know, applicability, compliance penalties. Does that also need to be put in here? And then the other piece is this also go into the personnel policy manual?
We had part of the other one in our personnel policy. So what I would assume this would.
Replace some
Yeah.
of the pieces.
Yeah.
I'm reading this. This doesn't necessarily really, in the signage issue, signage part, it doesn't really necessarily, it still has just tobacco language, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So you get down to definitions.
Right, I saw the definition and that was clear. What smoking means. But it seems like if we're going to talk about signage, we should, that was one, I believe that was Sarah's sort of biggest issue was, does our signage include all of that? And currently this is still, the signage part C is what I'm looking at. Still just has tobacco language and not all of the possibilities that are on new signage. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I'll have to ask Courtney.
Yeah, it seems like we should have the new signage language in that part C.
Yeah, because it's not just tobacco, it's everything.
Right, and that's where the confusion comes in, because even the everything is under smoking and not under tobacco. I mean, I would feel comfortable just tabling this to the next meeting when we get those answers.
Yeah, that's fine. It almost seems like it should be a policy prohibiting smoking.
The use of smoking products.
Or yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Instead
anyway.
of tobacco.
So someone want to make a motion to table this until next meeting?
Well, I think we already have a motion on the floor, right?
Yes.
Yes, so we need an amendment.
I'll make a motion to amend action on this until we get the answers we seek, and then take action.
We have a second?
second,
All right. Any further discussion on the amendment? All those in favor, Lori,
Yep.
Michelle,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right. I'm guessing that's it. We don't have to go forward with the other. We can't really go forward with the other. We just voted to table it.
Right.
Okay, we're good. So we'll see this next month or next meeting. All right. Next, market analysis on the Bethel Water District building.
I finally got the analysis done. Lindsay did it for us. She gave you some comparables. There really wasn't anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
It's so old. She kind of pulled a few things out, but they don't really compare. But she kind of wanted to give you something else to look at. And that was kind of what the appraiser had said. There was nothing to compare it to. So she did the best she could. And her last page shows her recommendation, the high, the low, and what she would recommend if you decided to sell it, which we do have somebody interested, as you know.
I just had a question on the regulations for selling this. I believe in order to sell this, we would have to take that to town meeting, yes?
I think so.
I believe we would have to take this to town meeting. And we would have to take it to town meeting in one of sort of three ways, if I'm not mistaken. We could take it to town meeting with a specific proposal from the people who are interested in it and ask if the town's willing to accept that price. We could take it to the town meeting and ask the town if we can just put it up for auction, because that's usually how we sell town property.
Right.
Or there's, with the Ethel Bisbee School, we had a vote from the town that we could sell it up to a certain minimum price. Those sort of seem like the three ways we could go about this. There's probably others. But if I'm not mistaken, it needs to go to town meeting. Or the next town meeting, whenever that is. Does anyone else have any other ideas on that?
No.
All right. Well,
Are the persons who were interested in it still interested in it?
Yes.
Even if they understand the process might take a little while longer to learn?
I didn't explain that to them yet because we were waiting for this analysis to come. They did send me an email a week ago and ask if we were still working on it, and I said yes.
Did they make an offer?
To me, they threw out a price,
What was their price?
but I didn't want to take it to a public meeting until they decided they wanted to talk to you guys about it.
Right. What was their offer? Was it within the range of?
Yes. Well, let me look again. They were pretty close. Very close of the recommended.
Is it normal for us to just sell a piece of property like this, or do we have to do the by auction?
Lori, I think it can go any way that the town is willing to approve the vote, approve by vote.
Okay.
So normally with tax foreclosed property, we have a very specific, timeline, and that it's pretty clear. Although I think we're about to see, I don't know, maybe a couple more, but this is a little bit different because it wasn't tax acquired. It's just a piece of town property, and in order to do anything with town property, you need vote approval. And again, you can ask the town the question in a variety of different ways. But I mean, we could put it up. Yes, it could be up for auction. That's another possibility.
I think we've been working on this quite a while, trying to get this sold. So my opinion would be that we go ahead and sell it. We got somebody that's interested in it for the price.
Yeah, so at that point, we would just need to, the next time we have a town meeting, we would need to have a man, I'm losing it now.
Warrant article.
Yeah, a warrant article asking whether people agree to sell it for either a certain price or to send it up for auction
Okay.
or a minimum price. Any of those would be acceptable warrant articles. We just have to decide which one we want, or none of the above.
Well, I think I'll make a motion that we do the warrant.
Would you prefer to put it up for auction, or would you prefer to choose a minimum price?
Just choose a minimum price.
Other select board members?
Or to accept their offer.
Or we could accept their offer. Although at that point, I think we would need a formal offer from them. All right.
Which it sounds like that it sounds like they want it, so.
Someone wants it.
Yeah.
Is anyone willing to make that? Well, it would have to go. We're starting to accumulate things for a potential special town meeting here. Food trucks, water district property. There was something else I can't remember.
Moratorium.
Moratorium. Right. Thank you, Neil.
Road ordinance.
So I guess my question is, at that point, should we? I get it's not on our. I suppose it's not on our agenda, but should we be planning a special town meeting?
I think so.
And do we have to have that on an agenda for the next select board meeting, or can we just set that date now?
I would think next meeting, because we've got to get all our ducks in a row of what we're going to take to it. And then.
Right. Okay. That's fine.
That's my thoughts.
Yep.
Worth.
So Lori, do you want to make that a motion that we vote to, or put this as a warrant article for a minimum price? What I still can't. Oh, low, average, median. There we go.
I did make a motion.
Okay. I'm sorry, I missed it. Did you have a price in there?
No, I didn't put a price in there.
It's the motion that we take this to a special town meeting with the warrant articles being that we're asking for permission to sell this for a minimum price of $20,000.
You want to go 20 or 25?
I just have a
25, I think it should be. And
I have just an order question.
Yes, go ahead.
When we talk about real estate, is that something that goes to executive session? I mean, we don't even know what they were looking to offer. Should we have that knowledge first? I mean, I'm in favor of, putting this on a warrant article. But I'm not sure the method at the moment. I'm not sure of the warrant wording at the moment. I'd like to know what they're looking to offer, but I just don't know if conversations about real estate need to happen in an executive session or how that happens.
I don't think they, that's a good question. I'm not sure if they do.
I don't know.
If you're actually negotiating with somebody.
Okay, I think I heard that. So they don't have to go into executive session unless we're actively negotiating with a person.
Oh, okay.
Like we can talk about the money here. If we were talking to an individual about wanting to purchase this, we would have to go into executive session. But we're currently really not. they're not here. I mean,
Right.
I mean, if it was me, I would suggest that you do a special town meeting warrant, but don't put a minimum bid on it right now, or just cap it at something, because you're gonna want room to negotiate with somebody.
Right.
I mean, you may lose your person if you make it too high.
right. So we should put a minimum.
But
So we should put a warrant article with a minimum price. And then we can negotiate from there. I think
Was
that's
that minimum or cap?
a minimum. A cap is highest.
I know. What did Kristen say?
Yeah.
a cap, but not to exceed price. I mean, but that's up to you guys.
Okay.
Really,
I
I
just-
would I would be more inclined to put not below a certain price.
Right.
That would be, I mean, that would be my inclination. I'm not sure. So it seems like we're pretty far along with this. Lori had a motion, but do you want to put, you said you came up with a minimum, if I'm not mistaken.
Neil came up with a minimum.
What was it, Neil?
I said 20,000, but I want to make sure we have enough room to negotiate.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Lori, is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, and do we have a second for that motion?
You need a second.
Second.
Yeah. All right, we have a second. So the motion is to have a special town meeting warrant article to ask if the people of Bethel will let us sell this property for a minimum price of $20,000, hoping that we can negotiate higher. And we have it motion. Any other further discussion? All right, all those in favor, Lori,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right. Quit claim deeds. Map 14, lot 36, map 1, lot 10 through 29.
I make a motion that,
10-29, it's lot 10-29.
Lot
One-
10,
it's one lot.
right. And these are people who have paid their tax bills?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion, we accept the quit claim deeds for John and Eva Coolidge and Ann D. Shapiro.
And she has two deeds, one for 2 different years, right?
Correct.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Lori,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Thank you. Next, discussion about town attorney.
Okay. I had a discussion with 4 different companies in the Portland surrounding area. The first one I spoke to was Amanda Meter, I'm sorry. And you should all have your proposals right there for this. I went to MMA and they gave me a list of all of the attorneys in the state that are municipal attorneys. So I went by the list and I got in touch with 4 different companies. One of them, Drummond, what's the name of it? Drummond something.
Drummond and Woodson.
Drummond Woodson. They were the only ones that couldn't get their paperwork together for this for today. We have Amanda Meter. She is her own company. She worked for Bernstein and Shore. She left and Mary Costigan took over for her. Amanda went to MMA And then she went to a couple others, and then she started her own practice with a partner by the last name of Ellis. And because of the marijuana ordinances and things like that, there was some conflict between them, so they had to separate. So she's her own company now. She does a lot of municipal work. She is very knowledgeable in all of it. She says she covers all of the municipal criterias. Then I got in touch with Perkins and Thompson, and their gentleman is the one that the planning board uses and Nuri uses, Jim K. I can't pronounce his last name, so I butcher it every time. And I apologize to him profusely for it. But he sent a resume of quite a few of his employees. And he sent a price list also of what he charges. I talked to him exclusively about the fact that he does work for the planning board in Bethel, and he also does work for the town of Nuri. He said he spoke with the board at the town of Nuri, and the only time that there would possibly be a conflict would be the only time that he couldn't represent us. But Nuri and Bethel, I don't think have had many conflicts in that area that they need a lawyer for, as far as I know. And then the third one we got a perspective from is Jensen, Bard, Gardner, and Henry. And the lady I spoke with there was Natalie Burns, and she came very highly recommended by the gentleman, Jim Kay. He's the one who told me I should really speak with her too. He had a few others that he thought were that might be a good mix with us. But I didn't want to overload us with 20 different companies. So I just picked a few and went with them. I have all the other names and everything. If we want to go further, that's something we can decide on. But I thought that having 4 would have been perfect. But the fourth one, of course, didn't. They're interested, but they didn't have time to do a proposal, is what they told me.
They also do SAD 44, correct?
Yes, they do. They also do SAD 44, and they thought that they would have to check and make sure that there wasn't a conflict with SAD 44.
Right. So if I'm not mistaken, this all sort of comes down to, with our current lawyer, is that we're just not getting things turned around as fast as we'd like. That's sort of what?
She's too busy.
Right. But my question is, I guess my question for any new lawyer that we talked to was, how much better are they going to be?
Right.
In other words, all of these folks seem qualified, and I think the advice we've gotten from Mary has been fine. It's just been time issues, and we need to find out whether our hopes for faster turnaround on things are realistic, or whether we're going to strike out with any lawyer.
And that was the main thing that I spoke with these companies about, was the fact that we have huge lapses in getting our answers. Some things take up to 3 months to get an answer from them. And we just can't keep working this way. So that was a question I put to all 4 of the companies that I talked to, was what is your turnaround time? And the answers I got from the 4 people were within 48 hours.
Except for the company that didn't have time to do a proposal.
Yes. Well, when I spoke to her this afternoon on the phone about it, she did say that it was up to 48-hour turnaround time for questions that they would have to answer.
Hmm.
And I also have to say that I didn't give any names because I didn't think that was politically correct or anything, but it seems like everybody knows that we use Mary Costigan, and they were all of them said that she's an excellent lawyer, but she's busy. She's very busy.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to make sure that I did my diligence and did this correctly. I wanted to be able to present this in a manner that we could all discuss and possibly come to terms with somebody that could have a better turnaround for us. Because this is, Peter, you know, this has been going on a long time.
Yeah. So what is with Mary? So I mean, I guess I guess my question is, does what firm is Mary Costigan with?
Bernstein Shore.
Yeah. Does Bernstein Shore have a policy on turnaround? And you know, if Mary can't do it, do they have another lawyer in their firm that can guarantee that kind of turnaround or not? And if not, then I'm happy looking at other options. I just want to make sure that we're not, you know, jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire, that we're actually going to get the turnaround that we need.
Well, I think we're in the fire already, Peter.
So that was a little bit of my thought too. And I thank Lori for doing this work. It's a lot of work, and we have a lot of good information. But I do have to admit, I was just a little surprised that we had this information without talking about it first. And I don't doubt that we probably will be down this road. But somehow we evolved quite quickly from a phone conversation as individuals that we would talk about this at this meeting to having proposals back from an RFP. So I just was a little bit surprised by that. But my thought was for a path to follow is indeed draft up a letter of concern to Bernstein Shore and disclose to them our issue, that we don't have, at least in our opinion, a good response time. And what's their counter to it? Would they assign another attorney, put some parameters on it, draft it up, send it to them, and wait to get a response, and from that response determine if we want to go through hiring another attorney or another firm.
I brought up back, I want to say last January or February-ish, about switching attorneys, and you all asked me to contact her supervisors. Well, when I look on Bernstein Shores, and I've been keep looking at it, trying to figure out they're all partners. They're all, what do I want to say? Partners isn't the word I want, but.
No, partners are directors.
Is that what I want? Yeah, and I couldn't find anybody that was above her. I didn't want to insult her by going to somebody else. So when you draft a letter, who do you?
Well, I mean, I think it would be totally appropriate to write a letter to Mary and say, here's what we're seeing. Is there, you know, and you could even say, you know, we've appreciated the work you've done for the town. We've appreciated the counsel you've given us, but we're struggling with the turnaround time. Is there something that we can do to improve that? I mean, I guess
Back on Christine's emails, and it was the same thing. So it
Yeah.
wasn't, I thought it was my expectations at first. But it wasn't.
And you know, if we get an answer back to that, if she can answer back to that, because she's a director, she's a partner in the law firm. She could either take it to her other partners and say, can we cut them a better, faster deal, or find someone else to work with this town because they're a pain in the neck, or or they're going to say, no, we can't do any better than this. This is the best we're going to do, and and then we can say, okay, then we need to go shopping. But I think that's where I think we should start with Mary, and with a pretty formal letter. And I think maybe the select board should sign that letter and make it clear that it's coming from us. And then we'll see where that goes, and we'll see how fast it turns around. Jim?
Just to quick little injection for you. We've been using Jim, and I'm screw his name up to every time, so don't feel bad, Lori. But he has been a godsend, and his turnaround has been quick. So just tossing that out.
Toby uses them too.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me about him is if we get in a tangle with Nuri, but I don't think that I don't think that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen, but then we kind of be out of luck. But I'm not sure that's really an issue at this. I mean, we can decide whether that's an issue or not. But that was the only concern I had about that firm.
And it's just as a point of order, just for some other time. And maybe this was done prior to my coming onto the board in 2019, but I'm not sure if we have anything in minutes that the select board approved authorization of hiring Jim Kay for planning board use. That's administrative for another time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't recall.
And I just wanted to say the reason that I went further than just this discussion was because of the personal issue that I have had with her as a Bethel citizen. And I know that other citizens in the town of Bethel have had issues with how long she takes to get back to the town so that their paperwork can go through too. It's not just me as the personal person that she has held up. There's been a lot of issues over the 4 years that I've been on the board that this has happened. And that was the reason why I got the list and I contacted people and got the paperwork that I did, the perspectives that I did. I wasn't trying to overstep any bounds or anything like that. I felt this was an issue that really needs to be taken care of.
No, I think this information is very helpful. And it really does help us frame our questions, but I think we probably owe it to our current attorney to try to see if there is a solution. And then if there's not, then we need to move on.
Yep.
I'm not wedded to any one person. We need someone who can get the business of the town done.
Yeah.
Well, and in a reasonable time frame.
Just curious, while we're looking at these other attorneys, anybody know offhand how much Mary charges us an hour?
I do know, but I can't remember.
I
want to say 275. Yeah.
275 an hour.
Yeah, Bernstein sure is not cheap.
Nope.
No, none of them are. I was like, wow, these numbers don't make sense at all. But that's
those are actually pretty tame compared to some others I've seen.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know, like, teaching science, I make, $1,000, $2,000 an hour, but that's completely different.
That's different. That's cool.
An hour?
No.
Deserve that sometimes dealing with those kids.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, Loretta, are you okay drafting that? I can help you with that.
That would be wonderful.
And then we can get it signed and.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
All
Bring
right.
it to the next meeting.
Thank you very much, Lori, for working on that.
No problem.
All right, next, the Bethel Regional Airport Policy Statement.
Yeah, this came with the CIP stuff that I get for the airport. And then when I was reading it, it says that I have to share it with the selectmen, and it also has to be posted on our website. I have not posted it on the website yet. I looked back to see if they were ever posted before, but I couldn't find them, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. So I bring it to show you guys, and then I'll have Christy put it on the website Thursday. I think it's Thursday. She's out tomorrow, right? No, she's here tomorrow. So confused on who's here, not here. This is just a formality from the airport.
Yep.
It's because of the grants, right, Rhoda?
Yes.
Okay.
All the money with the federals.
Right.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to make a motion to accept the Bethel Airport Policy Statement?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, second. Any further discussion? And the town manager has been designated as the DBE liaison officer. All right, no further discussion. Vote, Lori,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Next is the main energy systems lease proposal.
Yes, the airport authority had a meeting, and they had been talking to Les about his lease, and after he made the proposal to purchase the property, and so they were talking about the lease and everything, and they kind of gave him this little proposal, and Les had wrote back yesterday, Friday or whatever day, and he'd like to talk to the authority again, and he'd also like to still keep interest in purchasing the property. So I told him I was just bringing it to you folks just to get your input a little bit, which is what the authority wanted me to do.
The one thing I don't see on the initial blurb is the roof.
Right, they didn't put anything about the roof in their new proposal.
And is that going to be acceptable? Well, it sounds like they want to come back and talk to the town,
Right.
the authority again.
Les wrote, the email that he wrote, he said, we have some feedback for discussion. We'd agree to 2% going forward with an annual rent increase, but not backwards. The roof is an issue. Does your proposal include fixing the roof? We would like to discuss including a purchase price option. And then he wants to know how they want to proceed. So I told him after I talked to you guys, I would set up a meeting with the airport authority and move forward.
Do we have any idea how much it costs to repair or replace the roof on that building?
He did give them a cost, and I do not have that with me. I can find out what it was. It was quite hefty.
I'm sure. It's a flat roof, right?
Yes.
Why do we keep doing that to ourselves in Maine?
I don't know why anybody in the state of Maine does that. But.
Oh, plenty of people do. And so you're just looking for input from us?
Yes. Yep.
Any other thoughts from the select board on the main energy systems lease proposal?
Maybe if we go forward with this, if they want to put a new roof on, they should pitch it.
No, well, maybe, yeah.
Have a slight pitch to it anyway, so it's not flat and not causing these problems.
There is a pitch to that roof.
There is a pitch?
I'm thinking it's just an old roof, Lori. I don't think there's any.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know it's an old roof.
Yeah. That needs repair or replacement, but
yeah,
it's going to be expensive. It wouldn't matter. Yeah, I don't think it really matters whether it's pitched or not. It's just old. Yeah, I don't really have a. I think that there's going to have to be a negotiation about the roof, and
Right.
I think the drainage issue, I hope that solves it, or at least, continuing update of that drainage system works for now. And
We hope.
yeah, and then but I'm still not sure about the whole. Again, I'm not sure it's whether or not it would be interesting to do some cost benefit analysis of owning that property, of the town owning that property or the town selling that property. I don't think that's that difficult, but we should probably dig into that a little bit and decide what's in the best interest of the airport and the town.
Okay.
And I'm guessing someone from the airport will probably want to address that, from the airport authority.
Well, from what they've said to me was once you sell the property, it's gone.
Yeah, I know that.
And then eventually the money will run out. What did he propose? I think a 40-year lease, a 40-year mortgage or something. I can't remember exactly what it was.
40,000 for so many years.
Yeah, things changed so quick. I don't know. But I can bring it up to him again because I got to set up a meeting with him anyway. So
Right. I mean, the downside is after a while, you also have to start maintaining we have to maintain the building if we're going to lease it. And that starts to eat away at your.
Well, part of that in his old lease, it said that he's supposed to be maintaining it, I think.
Even the roof?
Yep.
Yep. I mean, that lease is still in effect. I shouldn't say old lease, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
But it's just a short lease also, and that's the other thing. He wanted a longer lease, which I understand that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to go to the airport authority for negotiating this lease?
No, I think that makes sense. Let them keep talking to them, see what kind of arrangement they can make out.
We can do that.
All right. Next is the Route 2 sidewalk update.
Yeah, I sent you the latest update I have received. It's from Daniel Loring after I emailed him months ago. I think I emailed him in February and he wrote back. And of course, he says he does think that the total cost is going to be higher than the 250,000.
No way.
Yeah. Of course, they're not talking about building out until 2023, but Rick Davis always throws out that we shouldn't be putting in a sidewalk when the sewer pipes are so old out there. Because he would hate to think that if once we had an issue with the sewer that we'd have to dig up a new sidewalk. Then I don't think Scott wants to have to maintain this sidewalk at all. Because it will be quite difficult to maintain.
Just because of the routing?
Yeah, and DOT plows that road and they're not going to care about the sidewalk and they're just going to fill it in and we have a hard time keeping up with what we got.
Mm.
Can you refresh a memory of the location of it, from where to where and what side? And
Lincoln Street up the Parkway.
Here. Come closer. He's coming.
From the end of Lincoln Street up the Parkway to the Rite Aid intersection, and then it'll turn right and head to connect into the pathway over by the Androscoggin River Bridge.
So it's all Route 2 Mayville on
the east side?
East side.
Mallard Park.
Yeah, north of the Parkway and east on Route 2.
Yep.
Yeah, but is it on the east side of Route 2, on the Mallard Mart side?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
There's some work doubling back to pick up the walkway that comes across the overpass, actually formalize that part and tie the two together all the way to the pathway.
I'm sorry, say that again.
There's some work to back up next to the overpass to collect the sidewalk that's on the overpass right now.
Yeah.
Tie that into the intersection at the top of the Parkway, the Rite Aid intersection, and then
Yeah.
carry that all the way down to the pathway.
Okay, past Malamar, past the bike shop. Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Right, where the pathway comes out next to it.
These things go across a lot of people's front yards.
I tend to agree with Rick Davis about this. We need to take care of the sewer pipes first before we put a sidewalk over there. You know, what happened? Put a brand new sidewalk in and then the sewer pipe goes. We have to dig up the brand new sidewalk and then redo it after that again. So I think our first priority should be to talk about the sewer pipe problem over there.
My question is, for the sewer issue, is it that the sewer pipe is running under where the sidewalk is going to go, or is it coming in perpendicular at various premises? Because that makes a pretty, I mean, most of the price of this, a lot of the price of this sidewalk is getting it to go where it's supposed to go. It's not the paving per se, but it's, you know, if we're going to have to remove like 100-foot section of it, that's a problem. If we're going to have to move one sidewalk square to get to the sewage pipes, that's a different question.
Scott says it goes right underneath where the sidewalk is.
Oh, great.
The service lines go under where the sidewalk is. So,
And that's not in this proposal, fixing the sewage lines while we're doing this work.
right.
And how about the water lines? Where are they?
They run down the backside. They go through the trees.
I think you're right. They're on the back side of, I did see those once on one of the maps.
Well, that's good. And is this included in the, I know we saw, was it last month we saw Rick beginning to sort of, I forget how that all went.
Oh, and all his CIP. I'm not sure where this sits in that. I'd have to double check with him. He has so many little projects that need to be on his list.
Because I agree, if we're gonna dig up the ground, we should fix the sewage pipes before we put the sidewalk on top of them. But if we can do it all at once, that would be great.
That would be better, definitely.
Once it's open.
I'll ask Rick where this fits into his plan because I really don't remember.
I'm guessing it's not ahead of the Millbrook.
No, pump station.
Pump station.
Nope.
All right. Well, that's our next question. All right, that brings us to.
Did they give you any more? Just another question on this. It says that the price is going to be going up, and he gives a range. Did they say? Was there something in particular that's driving it up, or just the cost of materials by the time they get there?
I think of the way all I got was what I sent you guys. Not much. I think it's inflation, and by the time they do it in 2023. So
Yeah, because their range now is saying the projected cost could be 350K to 400K.
right.
Yeah, that's a big jump from 250.
And he is asking if it's too expensive for town. They could meet with us to talk about the process, if that's something you guys want to do.
It might be worthwhile.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
if the
think
price
so.
is going to go up that much, we really need to get a feeling for what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
mean, unless they're putting on like a moving sidewalk, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
He did moving sidewalk. I don't want much. I'll set up a meeting.
That would be funny, Peter.
Yeah, except the winter.
Yeah.
Not to rush anybody, but I did set it. We can only set a 3-hour meeting, so.
All right. Well, let's move right along now. Report of the town clerk.
I just wanted to update you on the election last Tuesday. We issued 982 absentee ballots. We received 963 of them back, and we had 875 people vote in person. And Alicia and I processed absentees on October 31st here in the office. We couldn't do any totals or anything. We can just process them through the machine. But everything went fairly smoothly. I was really nervous about it, but I was very happy at the end of the night that it was over.
Yeah.
Oh, I have, thanks.
I'm just glad you didn't get more absentee ballots out back that you sent out.
Yes, yeah, that is true.
That wouldn't have been fun.
No.
Congratulations on a good job.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And also, I had a side conversation with Kristen, and interesting to note, it was about the same amount participating as any other presidential vote, Kristen. It's just that the way they voted was much different than other times. Is that good to say?
Yes, that's correct, Michelle.
It's interesting. I just found it interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
So 16, 18. 19. Yeah. All right. Report of the town manager.
Scott's here. He did have a proposal for somebody to buy a piece of equipment. Jesse Childs offered $5,000 for 2 loaders. And Scott thought that might give him some permission to start getting rid of some of the older equipment. Am I correct, Scott?
Are these loaders still operational?
Well, the engine runs in one, but it does not have a good transmission, and there's a transmission in the other one. One's a 1974, one's a 1984. They've been sitting out back behind the dome for actually a couple of years now. But we thought maybe it'd be worth trying to fix them up at one time, but it said, do you want us to spend the time and the money to try to take 2 and make 1, and do you just want to unload this stuff?
So do we have a loader that's working?
Yes, we do. You guys bought a new one in 2008. The loader that was broke down now, the 2 that are sitting out back, used to be at the transfer station.
Right.
When we bought the new backhoe, 2 years ago, we moved our old backhoe to the transfer station in replace of this machine that lost the transfer.
Yeah. And does the backhoe work as well or better at the transfer station than the loader used to?
The backhoe actually works better as far as compacting the construction bins. Our weights have gone up considerable. That in itself creates a few problems, but we've been able to deal with those. We also have 2002 International dump truck that's sitting there. You guys gracefully let us keep one of them last year for a spare. We ended up using everything we had last year to stay on the road, but with the new truck coming after the first of the year, we hope things will be better for us. I'd love to be able to empty out the lot a little bit, get rid of that 2002. Maybe if you guys consider getting rid of those loaders. We've got a pickup that we need to decide what to do with. I'm not sure how you guys would like to go about it, but the Childs brothers they're an used equipment, and I'm not sure how they knew they were there, but they stopped way back when and asked, and then he was in recently. Actually, I think it was October, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was in and asked about him again, and actually threw a proposal out this time. So,
anyone want to? So you said $5,000?
Yes.
For the 2 of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because 2 of them are going to make 1 anyway. So.
Well, maybe.
From the sounds of it.
Well, they're different years, so you never know.
Yeah, they might not line up.
All right.
One, put it in the other.
Anyone make a motion to accept that proposal?
I'll make that motion.
Do we want to ask for, do we want to try to negotiate with them? You think we get 7,500 from them?
I don't know. I'm saying, you just want
Can't hear you, Scott.
try to advertise all this stuff out there and see what you want to set a minimum bid, what's your preference here?
Probably not worth the hassle to go to start advertising them. Just wondering if we might be able to get a little more out of them, or do we just take the 5,000?
I honestly, I mean, I've looked in some of the used equipment magazines, but everything you see in the equipment magazines is in operational order. You're talking $20,000 for some of those machines up there, but I don't think anybody'd offer you 20,000 grand for these two, but 20,000 for these two.
That 1974 is almost 50 years old for man.
And his
I'll second Lori's motion.
Any further discussion? All right, we'll vote. Lori,
Yes.
Lloyd,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And then can we wait on the dump truck and was the other was a pickup truck?
Yeah. Yep.
Can we wait on those until next month and just put them on the regular agenda?
Yep. That work for you?
That'd be
Yeah.
great.
You want us to do anything before that?
Do you want Scott to do anything before then?
Maybe just give us a description and what they're worth, or something simple.
Okay, he said.
Sounds like we should probably hold on to that dump truck just to be sure for a little while.
Don't say that. He doesn't want you to curse him.
I know. Well, that's why we should hold on to it. Then everything's going to go fine. If we get rid of it, then we're going to wish I don't know.
Right.
What'd she say?
Sunny and 70 all winter.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. Anything else, Loretta?
I have, we do have 2 foreclosure properties that we got to put out to bid. One's on the flat road, and I can't remember where the other one is. That prevention one. I don't know. I can't remember. It has IRS liens, and I finally got Mary Costigan to say, yes, we could do it.
Okay.
And the Odeon Hall sign that fell down, I have emailed a lady to see if she would make us a new one. I have not heard back yet.
Okay. Could you ask maybe Ross Swan or someone like that as well?
I haven't yet,
Okay.
but I plan on it. But it's going to look like the old one.
Right.
And they took it back to the Historical Society and put it up in the attic. And Randy said they would donate towards the cost of a new one, and they would give the exact measurements and yada yadas for the new sign.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? The Lower Main Street sidewalk, I sent you guys all the proposal, the revised plans. And if we have any concerns, we got to get back to him within 10 days. Toby said he enlarged it on his computer, so people might be able to see it a little better because it's teeny weeny. Rick Davis had a couple concerns, so I sent them on. And I don't know if Scott's had a chance to look at it yet. Yeah, so Toby made a bigger one. He's got it in his office, so Scott will check that out tomorrow. Great.
I thought I probably have too much stuff. Twin Town Glass came and looked at the front door, gave us a cost just for the door. And I think it was, for crying out loud, I had it in my hand. 2,900. Is that what I told you, Peter? I showed it to you.
You told me, but I immediately forgot.
Yeah, me too. It's right here, my mess. I know I have it somewhere.
That does not include reframing the doorway.
Right. And we'd have to redo here it is. Surprise. $2,172.85.
For a door?
That's for a door.
It's a commercial door, Lori.
Yes. Because the one we have out there does not close correctly. The handle flops around. People struggle with it every day. And we've also got to make it AD accessible eventually. So we got to get a contractor and he had to give us an estimate on the rest of it.
I
So-
forgot about the ADA stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the door that's on there is a $300 or $400, $500 door. Just
Right.
a basic residential door, but it's not a commercial door.
Right.
That's about it. I think.
We should probably, Loretta, we should probably get someone to give us a quote on what it's going to cost so we have the whole project.
Yes.
To reframe that door.
Yeah, I thought I'd talk to Chris Olson and Andy did what we have there now, but Andy Wheeler.
Right. Yeah. If we could just get a couple contractors to take a look at it and say, this is what it's going to cost. And then we know the whole thing. That'd be great.
Okay.
Anything else?
Not that I can see. I did look up the owl that you talked about for meetings. I also asked Chris Sanborn about him. He'd never heard of it. Well, I no sooner looked it up on the office computer and it popped up on my personal phone. I thought, wow.
How'd they know that?
They know everything.
I know everything, so
Yeah.
I shouldn't be surprised, but I was. Seems I don't know if we're gonna have to stay Zoom meetings or whatever, but.
Yeah, that could make the group, who are all in one place work better. But I'm not necessarily a huge fan.
Right.
All right, we continue thinking about that.
Yep.
Anything else?
No.
All right, selectmen's concerns, comments, ideas, goals.
I want to bring up the subject of Monday, November 23rd meeting.
Monday, November 23rd.
We have a selectmen meeting starting for that day, and then Monday, December 7th is the next meeting. I think that's the holiday week, I think. So I think we should think about not having the Monday, November 23rd and just have the one December 7th.
What's facing? I mean, we have a bunch of things we've moved down the road from this meeting. Loretta, anything else that you foresee on the horizon for next meeting at this time?
Not off the top of my head, other than all the stuff that.
Yeah, we're going to have a fair bit of warrant article stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if that'll give us enough time to get it all done or not. But.
Plus, there were some in the future items that we said we would deal with towards the end of the year in preparation for January, i.e. what the practice is and if there's any changes for budget item requests. And also we wanted to talk about wages and salaries, specifically the stipend and how that fits in with the wages and salaries.
Yeah, it sounds like we might have a fair bit to do coming up in the next two meetings. So we should probably, in my mind, we should probably hold on to those meetings as much as in some ways I'd rather not. But I see a bunch of things coming up that probably it would be better to spread out or to be able to act more quickly. Whichever way it works out. But if you want to make that motion, Lori, I'm obviously happy to entertain it.
Well, I'll make the motion that we not do the Monday, November 23rd meeting.
Do you have a second?
I guess not.
Sorry.
All right.
It was worth a try.
I just thought I'd try.
Yep. All right. Anything else, Select Board?
Just an update on the broadband. If you all have received information about participating in the speed test, I'd welcome you to do that, as well as share with anyone else in Bethel that your circle of influence. And also there was a survey. We have paper and, you know, thanks to the town office, they mailed those out too. So if you can return those, that would be very helpful in getting an inventory of what's happening here for internet service. And also further update our Little Mahoosic committee, part of the larger Maine West broadband committee. We are looking into some planning grants. We should know more about that by the next time we meet to try and help organize how to plan with the information we have going forward on that. And then I think I'm Bethel's representative for you guys on the Maine Service Center Association. They had an annual meeting this past week. I was not able to participate Zoom wise, but I do have all the information. It was basically administration. They just had election of officers for the executive committee. So there wasn't really any action items other than that. There's an update there. I just had something for Toby. It may be down now, but as of this weekend, there was still a little lawn sign at the corner of Parkway and 26 at the T-stop there for an event that looked like it happened on August 29th. But it was still there as of this weekend anyway. I guess from some of the email communication that we've had since the last meeting, just an update. River Lanes, I think, had an assessment question. I don't know if how that got resolved or.
Well, it's not resolved, but I did send her an email today again, because she was going to join the meeting, and I said I didn't add that to the agenda because I didn't want to put her on the spot. And I just said keep plugging away and told her the time frame of all the stuff, as she is shut down now temporarily because of the COVID and lack of business and profits and whatever. But hopefully to reopen, of course, because we just did our liquor license also. So
okay, so perhaps more to follow.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the only other one I had was of those emails was Sarah Decato's email. It looks as though you were able to answer those directly on some of them, and we're working on the signs and the tobacco. And I think she had some questions or asked if we could discuss more about the Angevine Park and the monitor, but I would assume that would be put as a future agenda item when that comes.
Closer to, yeah, because we've discussed it many times throughout the season.
Not to interrupt, but we got 2 minutes left.
Yep.
Well, I just wanted to say thanks for your email about Mary Scanlon. Congratulations, officially in order. That's wonderful. And also didn't know, I don't know if Sam's still on there. Maybe we can get something in the paper, a little press release about that. And maybe for the next meeting, we can get an update, what her goals are and such for the rec programs, the rec committee and rec programs for the town, just with a change of guard, you know, a little information of what she's looking at to do and goals. And same thing for the pathway. Seems to be in use. I see people on it every day. I think that's a good thing. And maybe for the next meeting, you can get us an update as to where that is. You know, I don't know if they're gonna be able to get the signs up, if there's gonna be a ceremony, ribbon cutting, if Rotary's been sent their invoice yet for payment. And again, that's a little I would think press release opportunity to get the word out that that's completed, at least to be able to be used. And then just again, those for the agenda for next time about what is the current practice, and for us to discuss if we wanted to change the practice for budget item requests, to have a little workshop about a stipend. What is the legal opinion of what that is, how it fits into wages and salaries, and also to bring up what I brought up earlier, what would be practice to fill vacant seats in between the publishing or ads of the committee and board seats. And also, I think at one point we want to talk about streaming and our Zoom and streaming and public participation and public access and such. It doesn't sound like we have enough time tonight to take care of that.
We should be streaming as we speak. I did what Josh asked me to do, like I've done the last couple meetings. Last time I knew it worked. It's telling me it's working. I don't know, because I can't see it.
It does say live on custom
Yep.
live streaming service. So that's a good sign. Any other selectmen's concerns, comments, ideas, goals? All right, we should probably move on to the approval of disbursements.
I'll make a motion. We approve the warrants for 2021, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, Neil? Lloyd?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I just have one final thing for financials for next time. On the reports that we have, it has year-to-date budget, current month, and year-to-date. It might be a misnomer. I think the year-to-date budget is actually the annual budget. And then it has the current month might be where we are year-to-date, and then it has the year-to-date. So maybe we just could get clarification on that for the next meeting. And then also for the next meeting, have where we stand with regards to the accounting for the our mask grant and reimbursement for COVID expenses, just to see where we stand on that. Because I think wasn't it until October 30th, right?
They extended it to December 11th.
Okay, so it'll be good to get a status update then. Yep. Thank you.
All right, anything else? We have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? I think we can do a vote of hands here. All right, thank you very much, and we'll see you on November 23rd.
Okay.
Guys.
Night.
Good night.
Night.